Welcome to part 3. Now, I don't know if it's just me, it could well be. But one thing I've always felt about the Reapers is if you leave them a day to let them completely dry, like not just, most paints you can touch within a reasonable period of time, but they're still actually drying, they're still actually, fully curing, and it can take quite a while. Some paints, they say, can take up to a month to completely dry, like underneath all the surface layers. But I've always felt that the Reapers look better once that sort of transition has happened, and this is basically one full day later, and I think the green looks a lot better than when it first sort of goes on. So I'm just going to do a little bit of the work underneath, and from there we're going to just add some of the metal and some of the olive green. And I'm going to use a HD one from Reaper, and theirs is called Stained Olive, so that's what I'm going to use for some of the other areas. I have attached it to its base to make it easier to hold while I'm painting now. So we're going to work now with the olive drab, just to add an extra layer of green so it's not all the same colour everywhere, because it's good to have a colour palette, but if you just go one colour everywhere, it just doesn't always seem to be very visually cool, which is a problem I have with like doing Blood Angels and that. It's sort of like always Blood Angels red, and the really good guys mix it up a bit with the reds, but you see just a lot of that standard Blood Angels red, and that's it from head to toe sort of thing. I think it's a bit dull. At this stage we're still just blocking in main colours. I'm not really worried about a lot of weathering or detail like that at this stage. We're just getting all the colours on that we're planning to use. And then once we've done that, then we can start to weather and do all the stuff that brings a model to life. Now typically the engine block's probably not going to be olive drab, and it's going to be more metallic, but this is science fiction. When we do science fiction, we can get away with all sorts of things. Just as a marker, I've put little dots where I plan to use this colour, just to remind myself of what I had in mind. You don't have to. I just tend to do it. Really depends on the model. Although this model isn't overly complex, there is a few places and it's easy to miss stuff when you're not paying complete attention all the time, which I'm definitely not at the moment. When applying this colour, I'm trying to be a little bit more neat now. I don't want to do too many touch-ups from this point. I'm probably still going to have to do some. But if I can minimise it, that will certainly help in the long run. Because really you want to do as least amount of sort of rework as you possibly can, and that's what touching up is. It's coming back over an area you've already done to fix a mistake. Now this paint's quite thin. I thin this one a lot, so I've just got to be a bit careful not to have excessive bleeding. Now it's not going to be helped, you know, it's going to happen, but if we can cut it down a bit, that will be better in the long run. So always watch how much you have on your brush when you're doing this stage. I really like doing the thin coats, but it does take longer, and you do have to really watch the bleeding. Tried to stay away from using too much metallic on this bike because it's sort of easy. Being a bike and being a warhorse, you know, sort of thing, it's really easy to use a lot of silvers. I mean, there's nothing wrong if you do, I mean, it makes sense, but I just thought it'd be better to mix it up a bit with some other colours. Olive is used extensively by the militaries, so it seemed a good colour to offset. Goes with the current green, but it also gives it that metallic military feel without having to resort to just using silver. But if you like using, you know, a lot of silvers, there's nothing wrong with it. Just if you're going to do that, I think it'd be good to use several silvers, don't just use one. If you're using GW, I might go the chainmail as your base colour. Then your gunmetal would be your shadows and areas where you want darker, and then the mithril for your highlights. That way you got a bit of range even in your silvers. Yeah, you've got to be real careful of the bleeding like this. Which is another reason why some people don't like really thinning their paints. It is hard to control. I think for beginners, one of the hardest things that they have to deal with is they don't know where they're going to end up. With the advanced guys, they can look at a miniature and they go, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this, and it might look crap at a certain point, but they know that that's only because it's not finished, and they've got to do several things to make it the style or look that they want. But a beginner, he doesn't know that, and he does something and he looks at it and goes, oh, that's not coming out how I wanted. He can't yet picture the end result and the steps that have to get there. You know, always persevere, just keep with it. Mistakes will happen. You'll go in the wrong place or paint the wrong colour, or you'll forget to do something. Even the greatest painters make mistakes. They still have to do touch-ups. They still end up in the wrong spot. It's all just the nature of the game. You know, don't worry about it. Just forge ahead. You make a mistake, big deal. You paint something wrong, who cares? If it's the wrong colour, just paint over it, or, you know, is it fine as it is? Even if you're painting for an army, I mean, I've never been to a tournament where they said the colours were wrong and they wouldn't let you play. A lot of tournaments have rules on you have to have a painted army, but they don't say that if you're fielding something that it has to be specifically the colour that is in the codex. So, you know, you make a mistake or you change your colours or whatever, doesn't matter, who cares? Did you have fun? Are you now happy with, you know, how it looks? And if the answer is yes, then it's a success. You know, look at other painters for sure, for ideas, you know, like I look at a bunch of guys. How to put a diorama together, because it sounds easy. You go, well, you know, we're all human, we all live, we sort of understand how things happen, you know, in the human world. But sometimes when you go to do a diorama, it's very easy to become very logical about how you're going to do it, and the real world isn't always logical, especially, you know, warfare. And if you can do a science fiction one, it's, you know, warfare sort of mucks up logic. And you can sometimes do these dioramas and you look at it and you go, it's not quite right, and you can't work out why, and it's because you've made it too logical. You've made it not seem like it has that element of chaos that the natural world and the human world has. It's like placement of trees, right? Like nature grows to its own set of rules, but there's a certain chaos in how it grows as well. You know, we might put a line of trees that are just a little bit too straight, that looks human planted, when you know it's in an area that's not human planted, and that stuff will stand out. When you go to do your composition, you'll look at it and you'll go, this doesn't seem right, you know, stuff like that. Pete has a very, very good eye for composition, making stuff look very natural, like it's actually happening in front of you, sort of thing. It's really good to see, you know, even if you're doing science fiction, just, you know, you want to do a space marine patrol, you know, you want to do a ruined building with Elder and that, have a look at Pete's stuff, because it'll give you lots of ideas. And again, a lot of the vehicles in 40k, the air vehicles, aren't straight out air superiority fighters. A lot of them are transport stuff, which in a way is their version of helicopters. More like it's part of an actual, combat team sort of thing. And even if you're playing, it's good to have a really nice painted army. It's worth the time. Especially if you're spending the money on the vehicles that GW charge. I just saw the new Dark Elder? It might be just the Elder, their new fighter they've released. It looks really good. And I was really interested in it, and it's 80 freaking bucks. And if you compare that to kits, holy Christ, you can get so much more in the kit world. And I know some people say, well, you're comparing apples and oranges, and okay, fair enough. To a point, I will concede that. But GW is not a small company, and they're both, and our military kits are injected molded. This is injected molded. They're 80 bucks for. Yeah, it's just a bit steep. Who else do I like? If you're struggling with kits, whether it be this or military or figures or anything, I suggest you watch Model Pro 72, because Lenny builds all sorts of things. He's foolishly got into armour. So have I, so I can't complain too much. But he makes all sorts of different things. A lot of planes and a bit of armour is his main sort of fare. But he really, really, really loves the stuff. And it's easy when you've got so much stuff going wrong. If you've had a really bad kit, and I get this a fair bit, because I'm in the process of trying to work out where to do my kits properly. Because we live in the basement apartment, and we have access to the main floor, kitchen and living room and that, which gives us a bit of space, but, I don't have much at all. And so a lot of my stuff gets bumped around a bit and gets broken, and when that happens, it's really demoralising. If you've worked on something, you've tried to do a really good job, and then, something just gets lost or broken, or the floors here are brown. And I was working on a tank, and the pieces are brown. And I dropped a small piece, and it's, as soon as you do that, it's lost. But Lenny just loves what he's doing so much that when you just think, why am I doing this? I mean, seriously, why am I bothering to fucking build kits, You just have to watch Lenny's videos and remember why. And that, yeah, you're going to have some crap experiences, and sometimes you buy a kit you're really excited about and it goes together like a pig. Funny guy too. But, Lenny just loves his stuff. He absolutely just loves his stuff. So check out Model Pro 72, because it's just, he keeps it real, mistakes, like his poor Jaguar when he lost the canopy to the breeze. But he just talks to you like he knows you, like you're just sitting down. And I think that Lenny not keeping it very professional, and I mean that in the nicest possible way, makes his stuff very approachable, and his love of the building and the hobby and all that stuff really, really positive. Who else is good? There's so bloody many. Another really cool guy. He hasn't been around for a bit, but he's really cool, is Colin Denson. He's one of the young'uns in the modelling world, but he's just starting out. And he posts another one. If he does really good, he posts it. If he makes mistakes, he posts it. And he's got a lot of enthusiasm. And, I think that's good. It's good to see a mix, I consider myself intermediate. I don't consider myself advanced. I certainly have a lot to learn. And it's good to look at beginners, it's good to look at intermediates, and it's good to look at advanced. The problem when we only look at advanced is it's so hard for us to emulate that. So you've got to look at the guys who are better as inspiration and ideas. Don't always try to put yourself as that benchmark, because if you do, you can not so much let yourself down, but all this stuff takes time to perfect. It's patience, it's some talent, it's learning techniques, it's patience, it's patience, it's patience. And some of these guys that are really almost seem natural, and that can that can be frustrating when you're struggling along. All right, that's pretty good. The base colours overall is on, so I will stop there. Thanks for sitting through this long process that I'm doing. I hope that there's some value in it for everyone, and I will catch up with you later.